reading this morning is from 1 Peter chapter 1, verses 3 to 9. Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. By his great mercy, he has given us a new birth into a living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead, and into an inheritance that is imperishable, undefiled, and unfading, kept in heaven for you, who are being protected by the power of God through faith for a salvation ready to be revealed in the last time. In this you rejoice, even if now for a little while you have had to suffer various trials, so that the genuineness of your faith, being more precious than gold that, though perishable, is tested by fire, may be found to result in praise and glory and honor when Jesus Christ is revealed. Although you have not seen him, you love him. And even though you do not see him now, you believe in him and rejoice with an indescribable and glorious joy. For you are receiving the outcome of your faith, the salvation of your souls. The second reading is from Matthew chapter 13, verse 44. And this is one that I would like you to join with me in the responsorial. Clap your hands, all nations. Shout to God with cries of joy.
Shout loud and sing for joy, people of Zion, for great is the Holy One of Israel among you.
Those the Lord has rescued will return. They will enter Zion with singing.
And everlasting joy will crown their heads. Gladness and joy will overtake them, and sorrow and sighing will flee away.
I tell you, there will be more rejoicing in heaven over one sinner who repents than over 99 who do not need to repent.
Rejoice always, pray continually, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus.
Rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I will say, rejoice.
Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer.
Although you have not seen him, you love him. And even though you do not see him now, you believe in him and rejoice with an indescribable and glorious joy. For you are receiving the outcome of your faith, the salvation of your souls.
Until now, you have not asked for anything in my name. Ask and you will receive, and your joy will be complete.
And what may be the shortest of the parables of Jesus from Matthew chapter 13. The kingdom of heaven is like treasure hidden in a field, which someone found and hid. Then, in his joy, he goes and sells all that he has and buys that field. Ask me when I last experienced joy, and I'd say this morning, as I was driving across the I-90 bridge, there was Mount Rainier and there was the moon. And it felt like a great occasion, a grand day to greet the moon. And the I-90 bridge was a grand place from which to do that. The time before that, in the news this weekend, there was a story of how a group of Japanese Americans has made 5,000 paper cranes and sent them to the camp at Fort Sill, Oklahoma. Fort Sill was one of the places that people of Japanese descent were interned during World War II. Now it has been designated as a temporary emergency influx center to house migrant children separated from their families at the southern border. Joy grabbed hold of me when I heard about those paper cranes, that perfect gesture, the love that went into it, the human spirit and God's spirit speaking truth and compassion into a situation that has all of us so utterly dismayed day by day. And the time before that, last night, our first dinner outside on the patio, but now that summer may finally be here. Before that, Friday afternoon, two elderly women from Horizon House now regularly join the teenagers in their weekly climate protest at Seattle City Hall. They come with their camp chairs and their hats and their sunglasses, and there they pop. And I'll bet that even when it rains and the kids might not show up, they will be there. I love it. Before that, Tuesday morning maybe, I conducted a wedding on the shores of Rattlesnake Lake for a member of the orchestra that rehearses here during the school year. We had the entire lake to ourselves. And surely at that moment it was one of the most beautiful places on the planet, with little bits of wispy mist in the trees, those amazing mountains around, and the lake so clear and blue, and the love in our tiny gathering of witnesses, 5 people and 3 very happy dogs. Joy is a feeling. Unlike the other fruits that the Bible lists for us as signs of the Spirit's work in a person's life, which are matters of character, patience and kindness and self-control and so forth, all very important matters of character, joy is just a gift. It invades, it flares up, it takes over, maybe only for an instant, but an instant is all it takes. The gladness of it washes over you, and then it goes, leaving more ordinary feelings in its wake, gratitude, or happiness, or respect. You're left with the memory of it, which glows warm, maybe for a long time. St. Paul names it as something the Spirit does in the life of the faithful. There's no should there. You can't make yourself into a joyful person. We talked about this at some length at last year's retreat when our whole weekend was given over to consideration of the gift of joy. Now, some people thought you could make yourself into a more joyful person. You choose it, you work at it, they thought. We identified areas of our lives where maybe that was possible. The joy of children and grandchildren, the joy of creativity, the joy of simplicity, the joy of work we loved, or of the sense of accomplishment, the joy of physical exercise, and don't forget physical expressions of love. We told each other stories about joys that we've known, and we took away challenges for areas where we might learn to grow into joy. I would be interested to know, all of you who were there, how that's gone for you in this year. Because in my experience, joy just has a mind of its own. There are things you can do maybe to make yourself available for it, or not to make yourself available. It's always possible to block it out. But joy just isn't a thing we control. We have say in all those other things. Our happiness level, maybe. Gratitude, yes. Appreciation, yes. Recognition of beauty or pleasure or grace, of course. But joy is not the same as happiness or gratitude or appreciation or pleasure or even grace. Joy is extra, over the top, surplus to requirements, occasional and wonderful. Maybe wonderful because it is occasional. Pure gift. That story Jesus told about a man who trips over a treasure. He wasn't expecting it. He had no idea it was there. For some reason, nobody else had ever spotted it. But having found it, he says yes to it with his whole life. For joy, the story says. It sends us looking into our own hearts and minds for what treasure might be buried there. Because that's the way joy operates. It can jump out at you from unexpected places. Joy sits right at the heart of the ministry of Jesus. When he prayed for us, that long prayer recorded in the Gospel of John, he prayed that we would know joy. He urged us to ask God for the deep down things that we need or we want, so that, he says, so that our joy would be complete. That's the reason he gave us for following him, so that our joy would be complete. One New Testament writer even makes the bizarre claim that Jesus headed willingly for the cross because of the joy that was before him. The joy. And in one of his most vivid images, Jesus identifies us as branches, receiving our life from him, the true vine. I have spoken this way to you, he says, so that my joy may be in you, so that your joy may be complete. I don't know if you'd want to push back. It is a tall order, maybe, for us to go around feeling joy given the mess that the world's in right now. But then, you remember what a mess the world was in the lifetime of Jesus? It seems that joy can transcend messiness. July 20th, 1969, human beings on the moon. All of us were there. We were watching it on TV. We weren't there. We were watching it on TV, though we were with them in spirit. Imagine that we got to watch that, those first steps on the moon. In the meantime, there was political upheaval in the U.S. We were in the thick of the Cold War. We were competing with the Soviets for world domination in the worst days of Vietnam. And then came that moon landing. It drew more people together watching TV than any other event in the history of the human race. We were part of that. When they got home, the 3 astronauts and their wives set off on a goodwill tour around the world, 24 countries in 45 days. Neil Armstrong, ever the nerd, researched every country in advance of going there. He worked on seeing things from their point of view. And maybe that's part of the reason that people loved it as much as they did. What the 3 astronauts discovered was that people didn't regard the moon landing as an American achievement. They saw it as a human one. We did it, they said. So that we did it was a joy 50 years ago that people shared all around the world. And it happened in the midst of controversy. Last Sunday I told you about Mr. Harold, my junior high Sunday school teacher. And one day I spouted at him some of what kids at my school were saying. Why waste money going to the moon? That money could have provided lots of jobs, employment for people. He just looked at me and said, it did. Because of course he was one of them with his job at Lockheed. And up here at Boeing it was the same, right? But of course many people were left behind. The day that Apollo 11 launched, Ralph Abernathy, head of the Poor People's Campaign that Martin Luther King had founded 2 years before, Ralph Abernathy led a group of protesters to a field near the launch site and called on NASA to use its mighty store of skill and technology to address the problems that Americans were facing right then and there. It burned to see Americans so rapturous about their space adventure when things were so desperate for some people at home and nobody seeming to care. So see how joy does its own thing, how it can sweep across divisions and seize millions of people and lift them into celebration. But see also how each person has a choice about whether to take part in the joy or not. See what happens if outrage feels more appropriate. I've been wondering whether it could actually be the same energy, just channeled in a different direction. Because joy is energy. It is God energy. And maybe both the euphoria and the outrage in that moment in time were signs of the Spirit of God doing business with us. Maybe it's still like that. Maybe when we're most joyful, we're also aching the most for everything that's broken in the world to be made right. Maybe delving into the brokenness with the love of Christ is the best way of all to open ourselves to joy. Joy is on the list of the fruits of the Spirit because there's so much of God in it. The Spirit, the God who moves, the God we bump into here and there. I gave you that list of the fruits of the Spirit a couple weeks ago, and you added other signs. You added easy humor, the love of fun, enjoyment of life. Those are related things. There's plenty of connection, but they're different too. Because those, again, are character traits. And joy is more. It surges through us like the Christ life flowing through the vine into its branches, true and right and clean and life-giving and health-giving like that. Anywhere, in any circumstances, we can stumble into it like that man tripping over treasure in a field. And know that God is near and it is good. God loves a joyful giver. Let us bring our gifts to God now in the offering.
Such a